Anthony Birchak, welcome back to the podcast.
What's going on?
Round 2.
Yeah.
Second year. Dude, it feels different this year. Just coming back, and I think that's been true, all the gyms we've gone back to now. Everything's different. I was so brand new when I walked in these doors last time.
I remember, dude. You were green.
Yeah. I didn't know anything at all. I mean, I still don't know anything, don't get me wrong, at home, but it was different, man. And this is the first 10th planet I had been to, I think. So I didn't know anything, and now, of course, I've been to just dozens, like all over the place.
Well, I mean, I've watched your growth, and I think we got to roll in, and like I'm able to see now what you look for and what you're doing, and it's obviously showing a level of competency in doing your jiu-jitsu now, right? And
Well, thank you.
yeah.
I need that,
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's small growth, and, it feels like no growth, but as soon as you start going back to other places, and you're like, okay, this didn't work last time, and it's working now like a charm. So.
Yeah. Well, a year is a big difference when it comes to jiu-jitsu, if you've been training, which we have been. And so now I get to have that experience. It's been really, really cool. Everybody here has been great. I've been coming to the evening classes, which is a little more packed. I wasn't doing that last year, but now, of course, Andrea's training with me, so we're hitting up fundamentals.
That's dope, man. I like seeing you guys literally go from fundamentals and come right into advanced.
Yeah.
And I mean, I try to tell everybody when people are like, well, how many times do I have to be here to like really notice something? And I'm like, well, how many times do you have to do anything to notice, something and any growth in anything? And like, as unrealistic as it may be, like 4 times a week, obviously. 5 times every single day, yes. At the bare minimum, maybe 3 days a week, and being able to come to these night classes that you weren't last time, getting a multitude of bodies, you're getting different, body archetypes and the strong wrestlers like Eric or long lanky guys like Ryan Hannon, and you're able to now see, okay, my style of jiu-jitsu works on that body type, doesn't really work on that body type, and hums along perfectly with that body type.
Yeah. It's a different experience entirely. And I also think, like, everybody should just get into it.
Yeah.
Should just do it, because even if you come 1 day a week, like I've seen the point made, like that's 52 times this year that you will have gone to jiu-jitsu. That's 52 times versus someone who went 0 times. It's still going to be a difference.
And then if you think about like the old cliche things, right? It's like I'm getting 1% better every day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're literally just taking 1 jiu-jitsu class a week, you learn something that day that you didn't know the day before, and you perfected something that day that you didn't have down the day before. And it's like, it's just small incremental growth. Is it going to take a lot longer? Yeah, absolutely. But it's slow growth is better than no growth.
Yeah.
And
not to mention that initial, like I've always felt the initial thing with jiu-jitsu is the fastest growth you'll have, because you get to go from 0 to something, and that's super binary. Right. And then from there, you're just fine tuning, and it feels really slow.
That's where I see a lot of people struggling, right? Is like they're not knowing from blue to purple, like really where they're at. And because we do no-gi, it's hard because you don't get stripes. You know what I mean? Like I've been doing stripes now, but it's still not very often because people don't bring their gis every day and they don't bring their belts every day. So like I kind of have to spoil the surprise of it and be like, hey, I need you to bring your belt today.
Right.
Like you did really good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. But so when I do it at like a promotion ceremony, everybody's here. Everybody has their belt. And I'm just kind of like looking down the line, like obviously the white belts and everybody on this, and then blue and all the ranks go that way. But when I'm like looking, I'm like trying to see like, okay, I immediately have to look at 80 people in the eye and be like, I remember your performance at Naga. It was horrible. You don't get a stripe. And then, I remember your performance at Grappling Industries. You get a stripe. And it's like I'm having to go down rather than just already have somebody like the traditional gi does, where it's like, this person did amazing today. They just won at this tournament. I'm going to stripe them up. So when you're in like those middle ranges, you don't know. But like you said, the best thing is going from not knowing any jiu-jitsu to you, and being, a white belt jumping on the mats for the first time. And then you learn your first sweep and you want to go home and you want to try it on the wife. You want to try it on your brother or whatever it is. And you're like, I know something now that I didn't know before.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just talking to somebody about like, 3 things that'll make your school succeed or fail, right? And it's location, schedule, and instructor, okay? If your instructor sucks, then your schedule and your location have to be prime, right? Because people will take shitty jiu-jitsu over no jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
they'd rather just get any jiu-jitsu rather than no jiu-jitsu at all.
And there's a good chunk of jiu-jitsu that's uninstructed. They self-taught, and you're rolling, and you're just gaining that experience over time.
Right, and then if you have an amazing location but a shitty schedule, then your instructor needs to be outstanding, because then people will make time and carve time and alter their daily schedule to make sure that they're at those classes. Coach Casey does it now, is where Coach Casey used to teach every single 11 a.m. class and 7 p.m. class at 10th Planet Las Vegas. Now he only teaches 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. So where people, that get off of work, were making their time to hustle straight from the, their job to the gym. Now they have to make extra time to wake up early, start their day properly, get to the gym, take 6 a.m. class, get out of there by 7 and get to work, by 8 or 9. So it's like, and then obviously if you have like a bad schedule, then your location needs to be easily accessible, and then your instructor also needs to be, phenomenal, that people are, trying to make things happen.
Yeah, it's that same triangle that's like, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's the like cheap, fast quality, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what I'm thinking?
Yes.
It's not cheap, or is it expensive? Yeah. So it's that same thing. You can have 2, you can't have 3, and it's like, you pick.
And if you have a shitty one, the other 2 need to be outstanding.
Yeah. I think that last year I was still in that point where I knew it was going to be somewhat detrimental to travel all over while trying to learn this, because you're trying to piece together a comprehensive curriculum of some sort, and you got no idea where to start. And every gym you go to, they're doing something different, and so nothing's flowing together.
Right.
Finally, I think now I'm at that point where this is becoming really fun, because it's okay that I can pick up, like we've been working truck.
Well, because you have a baseline now.
Exactly, yeah.
Like last year was establishing your baseline, right? This year is now adding, seasoning and spices to, this recipe that you've already had.
Yeah. And people forget about what it's like once you get promoted and you get higher up. I think people forget what it's like to be that white belt, and how, number one, you're already not in shape to do this. But then the second piece is you're putting out way more energy than your opponent, because you're stuck all the time in bad positions. And so as you get better, you also get to spend less energy. So
and then also because you don't know how much to exert in what position.
And where
so
the leverage
you're
is.
You're obviously just overusing everything.
Yeah, which like last year it was exhausting, man. But like it gets better, it gets easier, I think, somewhat. And now I'm like fairly comfy. My coach down in Florida, where I started training, is the one who promoted me before we came out here, and he just like had a role, and he was like, "Has anybody promoted you this year?" And I was like, "No." And he just was like, "Oh, well, fuck, man." And he went and grabbed a belt, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
That's awesome.
I didn't feel ready for that, and I was really nervous, to be honest, coming here, because every instructor is going to promote at a different time, and I was like, "Shit, am I going to fit in here?" And I didn't know where your standards are versus his, and I feel good about it, because I do feel like I'm hanging with the guys that I was with last year. I'm in that same range, and we're at that same belt level. It feels good. So,
well, like one thing I try to tell people is like they call me and they're like, "Hey, I'm a purple belt, at this Carlson Gracie gym, but I don't really do no-gi, so I don't know what I would be ranked." And I'm like, "You're a purple belt,
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know jiu-jitsu,
and it's still personal, like
right?
Everybody's
so like I
different.
honor every rank that comes over. The rule about 10th Planet though is if you're a black belt at another academy, right? And you come into 10th Planet, you start learning, and you really immerse yourself in the 10th Planet, you're considered a 10th Planet brown belt. Until you learn all the terminology, all the verbiage, all the positioning, and all the routes and all alternative things, then you graduate back to a 10th Planet black belt. But you're always a black belt at jiu-jitsu. Like, that doesn't get taken away from you. But talking about like people and standards, like I've only ever once only ever once at this gym, and only ever once before this time, that I've seen someone get their belt questioned because of how they rolled. And they, like, I remember the one time that like really shocked me was like, there was 3 purple belts at my old gym, and it was me, this Border Patrol agent who we called Todd the Bot. The dude was just shredded up. He looked like a fucking Ken doll. And then this guy who's a black belt now, his name's Santos Rivera. He's ranked, top 5 in the IBJJF worlds. But we had this murderer's row of us 3 purple belts, and there was like one other guy that was super tough, but not like an active competitor. And this black belt from Kansas came in, and I remember my instructor go, "Yeah, go with my purple belts," and we just ran a train on the dude and just destroyed him.
Yeah.
And then I remember at the end of that class, my instructor being like, "Hey man, like, can you bring me your black belt certificate? Like, you know, I want to see, because like there's no way that my purple belt should be doing that. But the guy he's not super old, but he was older than us. And then we were just young hammers. 2 of us were MMA fighters. The other kid's an active, special response unit for the Border Patrol. And, you know, we were just having our way with him. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I come from Kansas, a very small town. This was the gym. You know, we really don't have like that high level of competitors out there. Like, these kids are fucking phenomenal. And I remember like him like questions, like, but he did bring his certificate in. He's like, oh, he's like, yeah, I know you're a professor. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I was one of his first black belts, you know. And I was just like, damn, that's crazy. But then you see like geographically, you know, obviously the best jiu-jitsu that you're going to get is like California, Texas, Florida, upper, you know, New England, New York, all those areas where like there's like densely populated people.
Yeah.
The more you get to like middle, you know, bumfuck Nebraska and Iowa and all that, like, yes, there's pockets of good jiu-jitsu, but you know, you run into just one academy in a city, you know, that's dominating the scene, and not multiple schools that are, you know, really making this scene a, you know, meat grinder.
Yeah. Well, I think that the other thing too is that's why I stick with 10th Planet when I'm in those places, like especially because Jeremy Horton, 10th Planet Kansas City, those guys are savages. 10th Planet St. Paul, those guys were great. Or was it Minneapolis? Minneapolis, I think. And then 10th Planet Omaha. And those are all great schools.
Yeah.
Like, had great roles. And now I've gotten to see such a variety that I can tell. And I have gone to, like, I went to a random school in Texas. Doesn't matter who. I'm not a gossip. And walked in and was like, holy shit, I think I know more than a lot of these people. And that was when I was still a pretty new white belt.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a cocky dick, but it was like, I don't think I should be at this school. This seems like a rough environment. Like, you just never know what you're going to get.
One thing that, like, this year, there was a couple of black belts that got given out in our town, and I'm just like, man, I got to be okay with understanding that not everybody's journey is a competitive journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody, like, is that guy a black belt in jiu-jitsu? Absolutely. Can he defend him and his loved ones? Absolutely. You know, if this, you know, thing came down to a self-defense scenario, is he able to employ his jiu-jitsu? Absolutely. But when you look at, like, would he, you know, go to, you know, ADCC trials and place? Probably not. Would he even, maybe, does he even place at, like, you know, a stacked Grappling Industries? Maybe not.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I try to tell people, like, there's my criteria and my standard for belting, okay? Obviously, number one, I'm a competitor at heart, so if you're a competitor, you're going to, you know, score extra brownie points with me. And the simple way to do that is if you're a blue belt wanting your purple belt, compete up. Start punching up.
Right.
Right? If you get the shit smacked out of you at purple belt, you're probably not a purple belt. You know, you might be able to beat some purple belts, but not all. Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't want to see you just have a fluke tournament where you won, you know, you beat 2 purple belts and then, you know, you won. I want to see you do that maybe 2-3 times. And each one of those, in my mind, is a, you know, metaphorical stripe.
Makes sense.
Okay? So then, you know, you're punching up. I obviously, like, damn, he's out there winning, you know, purple belt tournaments as a blue belt. He's probably a purple belt. And then it's easy for me to get my hand forced to make that promotion, right? The second one is time. Or no, I'm sorry, second one is knowledge, right? If I'm stopping class and I have, like last night, I had Kenzo and his partner come over, and I'm like, hey, run that series that you just did. I want you to go Anaconda, you know, hit the roll through, fake it up to the guillotine, go back, and then I want you to make that seamless. And they did it perfectly. I'm like, okay, that shows knowledge, right? Even if you're not competing and I'm running late one day and I'm like, I call you, hey, who's there, bro? Fuck, it's me and like 10 white belts. Okay, do me a favor. Work sweeps from full guard. You could do that as a blue belt, right? How many sweeps do you know from full guard?
At least 2, maybe 3. Yeah, probably 3.
Okay, so I'd be like, just do your best. Really try to work on the details that you know to the best of your ability. I'm caught up. If I can get there, I can get there. If not, just keep working these sweeps.
That's been one of the most surprising things about jiu-jitsu to me. I normally don't love having to teach people shit, but when it comes to jiu-jitsu...
Yeah, but the other day was badass, dude.
If I have an opportunity to help a new person, because I'm still so new that I know exactly what you're feeling today.
Right.
And I'm like, here's what you need to be focused on. And I am so looking forward to that chance to have enough knowledge under my belt that someone can be like, can you teach
Yeah, man. And that guy
guy
signed up. So like right after he had a great practice with you, he signed up and he's like, dude, that was amazing.
It's a good feeling.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, no one wants to be fucking, fish out of water. Obviously, it takes a lot of guts and courage to even walk into a jiu-jitsu gym. It takes even more to come in here and get your ass handed to you every single day.
I think that's why there's so much almost instant respect and friendship that I've found in these gyms all over the country.
Of course.
The big thing is you showed up. And I even think it's probably stronger with Andrea's journey here because every gym she goes to, women are excited that there's another woman that's showing up.
Yes.
It's another training partner that's like their
and
size.
typically, like, I mean, this isn't, I'm not trying to be misogynistic or sexist, but women are catty as fuck. And there's sometimes where like they don't want outsiders in. And this is with anybody, but like seeing another woman come onto the mats and like, are you in jiu-jitsu to, actually learn this art and, defend yourself. And, with social media these days, like you see all these blue belts that are just thirst trapping and stuff like that. So like, I can understand how like some of our girls, like obviously not with her, but if you see like another girl walk in, you're like, okay, what is your real intention for being here? You know what I mean? Like, are you giggling with the dudes in the corner? Like, what are you doing? So I find it very important when there is a group of girls that's like, oh, dude, get in here. Start learning jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, it is just so much more important that we empower women in a positive way and give them avenues to, feel good about themselves, to get fit, to learn a life skill that's going to change their lives. And, I mean, there's been times when I walk into a new gym and I don't feel welcome. You know what I mean? It may not be... And maybe I'm misinterpreting it because people remind me like, dude, you're a fight celebrity. Like, people are like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, what are you staring at? And they're like, oh, I watched you knock out Joe Soto. I thought it was badass. You know what I mean? Like, God damn. Like, I forget. And like, just, okay, stop fucking staring at me and say hi. Like, come over. Mm-hmm. So like, sometimes people, as you walk into a gym, the tension that you might be feeling as a new person might not be real, might be misplaced. And then as the people seeing somebody walk into the gym, kind of like, okay, are you here to learn jiu-jitsu or are you here for some other motive? You know what I mean? So it's important when I see people, and especially with my team, I make it, I try to emphasize this very clearly. If someone new is here, I need you guys to be the most welcoming people ever because it takes a lot of courage to walk in here.
Yeah.
If you walk in here fat, sloppy, and out of shape, you already know that you're at that disadvantage. The last thing you need is some cocky, jock asshole making you feel less than.
Yeah.
So like having somebody that's like, bro, come here. See this wing? Get under it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. And I also feel somewhat like the opposite is good every now and then. Like my point would be, I don't know, man. Maybe my experience with why I did this is different from other people's. I knew what to expect when I started doing this. I was super aware that I was going to get my ass handed to me on a regular basis, but I already accepted that well in advance. So I don't know that everybody walks in the door having accepted that premise already. And that might fuck with them pretty hard. But every now and then, I don't mind when someone's being a douchebag and just destroys me because I'm like, that's what I asked for. That's what I signed up for, and that's making me tougher. I don't know. Do you feel what I mean? I'm not saying all the time.
No, you're right.
If that was all it was, sure.
But that's a small percentage of people with that mentality.
And I get that,
right?
too.
Because, I mean...
And I'm not trying to pretend to be exceptional.
I hate saying,
like
these younger millennials and these Gen Z, they don't have that mentality. Of like, yeah, I asked, well, technically I walked in here and like, although shit's been sweet up until now, maybe you got just the good enough and you pissed one of the upper belts off. They're like, all right, I'm going to smash this little fucking bug.
Sure.
And then you get sad and you're like, oh, I just got reminded that I still don't know shit about this and I could still get hurt and I could still get dominated. Mm-hmm. But not a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that's why I came here. That's what that's why I should have reminded myself.
And I hear that too.
And if you come in here with like that naive mentality that no one's gonna turn up on you, everyone's got that gym dickhead that like, new guy, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for a while, it was one of my upper guys, and I was like, stop losing me fucking members. Stop it. Because your ego or whatever it is, or your lack of don't care that he's a new guy, he needs to learn the way that you, no. Like, because that guy's not coming back. I tell this story about Chris Bennett all the time with Willie, okay? Chris Bennett hates that I call him a skinny, fat dweeb that came in, right? He was a CPA, he was an accountant. And
Chris Bennett was an accountant?
yeah, dude. I don't know if I ruined his life or
Would you
enriched
take
it. Listen
your
to what
taxes
happened.
to Chris Bennett? I love you, Chris. You're coming on my next episode like Sunday, but
Listen.
would I take my taxes to you? I'm not sure.
Listen, when you get stoned, you lose a lot of people money. No, but this is what happened, right? Him and his buddy Steven at the time were both accountants, okay? And they were, young, bright, starry-eyed kids. And every time, like, one of the things that drew me to Coach Casey was his motivational speeches post-practice. I fucking loved how polarizing he was and, like, how he drove home these points of the day, right? And then gave you more points to think about tomorrow and how you want to approach the day tomorrow. So, like, I'm like, dude, if you guys are stuck in a fucking job you hate, like, change it. Like, you're not a slave to that. Like, fucking quit your shitty job and create something. So these two dudes, are stoned to the bone, and they pull me outside, and they're like, Coach, guess what? I was like, what? Quit our fucking jobs. And I was like, why would you do that? You were fucking accountants. Like, why would you do that? And they're like, you fucking told us to. And I was like, yeah, so what are you going to create now? And they're like, oh, we got a couple ideas. And I was like, all right, good. But so one day on Chris Bennett's first day or first week, Willie goes double underpass and lifts him all the way up and throws his feet over his head, right? Bennett's big toe stubs the mat and breaks immediately. And that guy's white, right? But he was like whiter than these backdrop lights here. And he's like holding his foot and he's like, I think it's broken. I was like, nah, it's probably just jammed. And then like he let go of his hand. I was like, oh, that's broken.
Fuck.
So I was like, yeah, just take a little bit of time off. I didn't see him for 2-3 months. Okay. He comes back and I was like, oh shit, you're back. And that's when I told Willie, I was like, bro, I'm like, you got to be gentle with these guys, dude. Like, like that dude's one of the gentlest people I've ever came across. Even just, linguistically talking to him, like he's, very soft-spoken and chill. And like, you came over here and just fucking tossed him, feet over head. And so Chris Bennett comes back 2 or 3 months later. And I was like, oh shit, you're back. He's like, yeah, I want to, I told you I was going to come back after I was done healing. I was like, yeah, everybody says that, though.
Right.
Everybody says that.
Yeah.
That day, Willie hurts his spine in a twister or a body lock, and he's gone for another 2 months. And I was like, I'm never seeing that kid again, ever.
He hurt Chris again?
Again, at the first day back.
Holy shit.
Okay? So, Chris doesn't come back for a little while, and then he comes back again. And he goes, yeah, I'm not done with this. And I was like, dude, that is a mentality that I've not seen in a lot of people that aren't heavy athletes.
That's unshakable shit.
You know what I mean? And now when you look at the kid, he's shredded up, bodied up. He doesn't lift weights. Everything that he has physique-wise now is from just him doing mobility and doing jiu-jitsu, 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Fight Club. It's that scene where Brad Pitt and Edward Norton are on the bus.
Okay.
And there's this like Calvin Klein ad up in the corner of the bus. It's got this dude with like gym abs. Mm-hmm. And I think Brad Pitt says, is that what a man looks like to you? Because they are getting in like this different kind of shape.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing now is I think as men, it means the same as women. We all face this like media thing where it's like, oh, you should look like that. You should be in that kind of shape. But I know some of those guys now. And you see those guys, and it's like, I could rip your fucking head off.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice feeling. It's one of the rare things about jiu-jitsu that actually builds your ego up.
So, like, everybody that's like, the meme that I love the most is it's Elijah, what's his name? The guy from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Elijah Wood?
Yeah. It's Elijah Wood on a bird scooter, and he's got like a little hipster mustache and like a dweeby-ass haircut with a crop top denim jacket on.
Cute. Yeah.
And like brown corduroy jeans. And it's like, these are the guys that choke you out at jiu-jitsu with how they look in the street.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at Chris Bennett, he's so unassuming. So to fast forward his story, right? I never thought that this kid would be like some absolute savage. He was working at Prime Leaf, the one right here on Speedway. Mm-hmm. And this guy came in that was very, very violent and wanted, obviously his marijuana due or whatever. And they weren't serving it because he didn't have an ID. Security didn't do anything. Security was just like, I don't know what to do. Chris Bennett took the kid down, neon bellied him, was holding his hands, and like the kid started struggling, so Chris Bennett took his back and like was controlling his wrist and then put him in a reverse triangle armbar and was like holding the kid there. He's like, "Are you done?" Like,
Yeah.
And we got the security footage of
No
this
shit.
whole thing happening. And I was like, "Bennett, I have to use this for like promotional purposes." He's like, "Bro, Prime Leaf is like super sketched out that they're going to get sued by this guy." And I go,
God.
but this is the greatest thing to show what you used to be to what you're capable of now.
Mm-hmm.
You're a trained assassin, bro. Like this was, you used jujitsu to diffuse a situation, you know, restrain an assailant until somebody could come and help. And you know, he did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I still have that security footage somewhere, dude. And
I need to see that.
He's like, "You got to pull it down, bro." Cause it was up on 10 Planet Tucson for like a while.
Oh, fuck.
And he's like, "Can you please pull it down?" He's like, "Prime Leaf's going to shit."
I can't. And the other thing is, can you imagine Chris Bennett in that situation, what that guy is hearing? Because, again, I don't imagine Chris's mindset would have shifted in that.
Guys,
I imagine he's still calm as hell. I bet he's like,
these
"Come on,
listeners
bro."
probably like have this image of what. Go to, if you ever watched the first episode of Men in Black, the first movie, you know the little worms that are in the always drinking coffee? That's what Chris Bennett looked like to me for a very long time. He looked like one of the worms from
That's
Men in
so
Black.
rude, bro.
Okay, and that's why he hates this story, because I called him skinny fat and he was just a fucking nerd.
Yeah, he's scary now.
But now he's shredded, bodied up, skinny dude. He
Right.
looks like a greyhound. You know what I mean? Like that's what we call greyhound body.
Mm-hmm.
It's an athlete. It's, you know, but he's not doing anything extra other than just being here.
Yeah. What a strange fucking sport this is. Dude, it's weird. And everybody comes into it for different reasons and gets a different thing out of it. But the main thing is, and I don't even think, you know, I'm not like the preacher of jiu-jitsu, and I try not to be. I do a lot of episodes about it because I'm really into it. But my whole point through everything has been do something that is incredibly hard for you. I guarantee jiu-jitsu, grappling, wrestling is incredibly hard for anybody because mentally and physically it just breaks you. But whatever that thing is that you're avoiding that would be incredibly hard for you to do, if you go do it, you will be a different person on the
The
other side.
obstacle is the path.
Yeah, I think that's true.
The obstacle is the path.
That's 5 rings, isn't it? I mean,
I don't know if those are 5 rings. Art of War, maybe.
something. Oh, maybe that's it. Okay.
But the obstacle is the path. I mean, when you think about like things that are trying to keep you out of fun places, there's usually a wall there, right? And you're like, well, what's on the other side of that wall? Well, that's a nightclub. Cool, well, I want to go in there. Well, you can't. There's a wall. Like, yeah, but if I can figure out how to get over that wall, that nightclub looks pretty fun. There's like all kinds of stupid analogies I can go down the way with, but definitely finding how to break down those walls, get around those walls, go over those walls, go under those walls. Any way that you can get past that wall, there's something that you want right on the other side. And for a lot of people, fear is that wall. Like fear of failure, fear of, you know, outside opinion, whatever that may be is like, I think fear stops a lot of people, you know, and excuses of like just everything. I hear all the stuff. I don't have the time is the number one thing, right? I don't have the time. And it's like, I hear these kids saying, I don't have the time. And when I say kids, I think I'm talking like mid to late 20s, right? And they say, I don't have the time. And I'm like, okay, I have 4 kids. I own 2 businesses. I run this fight team, okay? And I have 1 kid playing soccer, 1 kid wrestling. How do I have more time than you?
No, you don't.
How do I have more time than you? How can I get more? It's not about that. It's about, you know, allotting time for certain activities and really compartmentalizing your life, right? I was just telling somebody about this, and like, when you coach jiu-jitsu, you coach so much more and you teach so much more. I'm trying to like tell kids like, okay, if you got to wake up at 6 a.m., allot yourself an hour and a half to get back to everybody's emails or whatever you need to be. And then when it's done, that time's done. Your email time for the day is done.
Right. That's the whole, like, it takes up whatever space you give it. Right.
That's it. Right. And then like, you know, your breakfast, your morning routine, whatever it is, then starts. And you should only take another maybe hour and a half to 2 hours to do that. Right. And I'm talking like your morning poop, your morning coffee, your breakfast, your shower, you know, getting dressed, ironing your clothes. That should all be within that. And then obviously your work day, whatever that may be, whether it's a workout session for another hour, 2 hours, whatever, or your work day for 8. And then once your work day's done, fucking be done with it. Right? Obviously, unless you're getting paid for extra things, then, obviously you do that. But once your workday is done with it. And then have an hour just to yourself where you do what you want to or need to do for you, like good stuff for you. If you want to, maybe simple as decompressing, having a beer, going, having, a basket of fries or whatever, just by yourself, chill, watch some sports on the TV real quick, whatever you need for you, personal time, read a book, whatever. And then obviously your night session, maybe another hour and a half session, right? Then you finish all the stuff in the evening. Maybe you start, a lot, 2 to 3 hours for wife and kids. Coach Casey calls it watering your garden, right? And if you're one of the guys that does jujitsu and you're not lucky enough to have your spouse who also does jujitsu, it's going to be really hard because coming home to somebody that has no idea and that's been home with the kids all day or been home with, the pets all day, that it's been, driving them absolutely bonkers because they didn't have that release that you just had at practice. Mm-hmm. So you're coming home endorphins high as fuck and they're just pissed off that they've been at home with no outlet. So coach calls it watering the garden. And he says, like, when you come home to the wife, you're like, hey, dude, how was your day? Oh, my God. So,
sorry. There goes the headphone cord, folks. Technical difficulties.
Okay, we're back. Back? Yeah. So, oh, my God, Sandra did this today and blah, blah, blah. It was so hectic at work. I got slammed. Sweetheart, I smell like, 10 different men right now. Can I go rinse off real quick and then you continue this story, right? Yeah, go. So I'm going to go shower, change. And I come back and then kind of that little was enough release maybe where you watered the garden, you made her feel important for a second, and then you fucked off to go shower. And then maybe it's different when you come back and you don't have to hear the story about Sandra and all the paperwork.
My life is so different from your life, but it's because I don't have kids. Let's be honest. That's the big move.
But then obviously the kids, every night Jet wants me to I've been putting off, he bought this giant Goku pop together model. And I hate models.
Yeah, you told me he's really into a stop motion.
Yes, I hate models. And he grabbed one of these click together models, but he didn't understand they come on this ladder, right? And each one of them has L1, L2, L3. So he just started popping shit out. Oh. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know where these go now.
So
I
it's
don't
a
know
paint by numbers without the numbers. Fuck.
So I'm trying to allot him time for doing that, right? And then I have to, eat dinner with everybody, tuck him in, make sure that he's showered and homework's done. He goes to bed. My 13-year-old's off his fucking phone. He's in bed. And then that time that I just spent with the kids doing whatever it was, maybe it was just dinner and chat. Now I have, an hour with the wife. We sit down, we watch Netflix, get into one of our, episodes that we're watching of whatever it is, or kill 2 episodes. Like lately it's been The Witcher and, the Book of Boba Fett.
Bro, I got a new one for you.
What's that?
The best reality show I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Andrew's already laughing. It's called The Circle.
Okay.
You seen this on
No.
Netflix? Okay, go watch it.
The Circle?
Yeah, they put 8 people in an apartment complex. They can't see or hear each other, so they're communicating through social media profiles. And some people are fake and some people aren't fake. Dude,
my God.
I thought this was
That
dumb
seems
as
like
shit,
a
and I hate
bizarre
reality,
mental
but
project.
it's really good.
That's crazy.
It's good. Anyway.
But that's how
Right.
I'm kind of compartmentalizing everything right now because, I have to chalk up these hours to the day. And don't get me wrong, I fail every day where I'm I'm supposed to be spending time with Tyler right now, right? And I'm just and I'm like, fuck, dude, what am I doing? And you know what I mean? It's hard for me. Every time I hear that little buzz or I see the phone screen light up, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's a discipline thing. So 2 things. I thought of 2 things you were saying all that. Number one, there's an extreme amount of discipline, and everybody talks about discipline all the time. And you do get that when you're in jiu-jitsu. And when I meet high-level jiu-jitsu people, they've got extreme amounts of discipline because I think it correlates. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. It correlates what you do in here is going to affect what you do out there. But the other thing that has been in my mind a lot lately was a Jocko Willink thing. I don't follow him a lot, but I saw one clip where he was talking about how jiu-jitsu makes you anti-fragile. And that one fucking stuck with me because anytime you feel too lazy to do something, for me, I don't think discipline. I should turn on the discipline, whatever. I think of I'm not this fragile. I'm not so fragile that I need a break right now.
Why is this bothering me to this level?
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's what it is I want to become less and less fragile so that when you're man, I'm so fucking tired, I just can't think about getting back on my computer and finishing that project. Fuck that. I'm not that fragile. I can go finish that.
Yeah, why is this breaking you?
Yeah, it's
Sit down, knock this out, be done.
I think that this is honestly where, so I really like all the dudes that talk about Stoic philosophy. I kind of make fun of them to Andrea sometimes because they get really into like Marcus Aurelius and all this shit he said. Listen, here's my point.
Okay.
So they get really into it, and I kind of think there's some great points in there, but I don't think you actually become like a badass by just like journaling all day and thinking about Marcus Aurelius. I think that's kind of weird. I feel like you need to add some things that I think that like the Romans, the Spartans, all those guys did, which was fucking wrestling. They also used to be extremely physical, and they had physical challenge every single day.
So you know what
massive.
the Platonic University was, right?
No.
So Pluto had a school where the first part of the morning was wrestling and physical activity, right? Then you go to class and you go to lecture, right? And you do whatever the lecture is, and you break for another physical activity. You go back to class for, lecture and lab or whatever they did back then. And then you finish the day with physical activity. Right? And it's exercising the body and the mind. And I was like, why don't we have that today?
Right.
There's some schools. There's a school in Las Vegas that I would love. I wish I could have a financier or somebody that would do this because it's called SWM, right? Their only sport is wrestling. The name gets better. Science, language, art, and math.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Science, language, art, and math. SWM, school for wrestling. Only sport.
And
Tremendous.
it's like that.
Platonic. They wake up 6 in the morning. They have fucking 6 a.m. practice or lifting or whatever it is. They go to class. They have a break at lunch, right? I think they hit track at lunch. They run, and then they come back to school, and then they finish with a 2-hour wrestling practice.
That's going to be a different kind of
fucking
kid right
tremendous.
there. Yeah.
Everybody on the team's nationally ranked.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And it's a charter school, and it's like, why don't we have more of those? You know who owns it? Pitbull, the singer.
What? No way.
Yes. So I've messaged him on Instagram hoping for, obviously he probably doesn't run his Instagram. He's probably a PR person. But I was just hoping for, hey, how can we get this done here in Tucson, Arizona?
Oh, man.
How can we get this done, in Arizona in general? How can we make these pop up everywhere?
That's so cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's great concepts, I think, out there. The whole, like, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Like, that's another one that sticks with me all the time. Like, you don't want to be weak just because the world around you is soft. You want to be too much for it. You want to be able to handle anything.
When I hate, like, Mercedes loves watching Embedded and The Road 2 and, like, all these things. And you for whatever reason, she loves watching that, right? She loves watching the ups and downs that all the fighters go through. And she's like, why don't you like watching this? Because I live this life. I know how fucking sad it is and horrible it is. I don't need to see how fucking, sad Connor was at one time, but now he's rolling in fucking billions. I don't need to see that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because that's not my reality. My path didn't go like that. You know what I mean? I don't like watching, someone else's struggles because I have my own. Like, I can appreciate that, but I already have my own. Like, I know how horrible the fight life is. That and like this need to like John Danaher to just constantly post these long-winded explanations of jiu-jitsu philosophy, right? Which now like Robert Diggle and Damian Anderson do. So like the students that came from him also put out these long-winded, like, to understand, the leg lock, we need to understand the origin of the leg lock and where the leg lock came from and like dissect why the leg breaking. And like, shut up. Show me the fucking technique. I don't need to understand why you think, or maybe you're wrong where the leg lock came from. Maybe it didn't come from, Greek and Greco-Roman catch wrestling or anything like that. Maybe you have no idea. So these people that like go way, way, way down the philosophy of jiu-jitsu, like, they kind of irritate me. And then the people that are really into like the embeddeds and like how like someone, that really bothers me. Like, they're like, well, what motivates you? I have it in me, right? Like, I feel like if you don't have an intrinsic level of motivation, no external amount of anything is going to get you going if you don't have it in here first, right? If you don't have your own personal struggles, why is me watching this guy's personal struggles be like, damn, man, I never, like, I don't associate like, damn, I never want to be like that. Like, I'm going to go do that. Like, I would never say that, right? I'd be like, damn, that sucks for that guy. Oh, that's not me. I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing and keep my, if I was not successful, I'd be like, damn, I should probably change some things, right? And seek out coaches that can guide me in a way that can lead me up that ladder, right? But because I've had the level of coaching that I've had, it's like, damn, like, that sucks for that guy. Like, I'm going to continue to just do what my coaches told me to do and keep trucking along.
That's such an interesting perspective. I got to think on that for a little bit.
It's
because I'm with you.
Don't get me wrong. It's flawed. And I'm sure, like, if people watch this, be like, God damn, he's kind of a, like, I guess you'd call me a prick or self-centered, but like I said, I live this life. I don't need to see that he couldn't pay his light bill. I can't pay my light bill. Why do I give a fuck that he can't? That's the fight life. We chose this life.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
And then like someone that's going so in-depthly into like the philosophy of jiu-jitsu and stuff, like, it's like, God, it's so long-winded and like almost like self-serving.
I'm guilty of doing that myself, though. And I'd like to think I do it less now because you engage with it long enough and you're like, okay, I figured out the lessons I need to figure out. But I think some of us that are more like straight up overthinkers may struggle a little bit more with that than you. And I didn't come from an athletic background. Like, so I had to first understand all of this. And now I can be okay with just doing it. It's decide what to be and go be it, right? So pick it, cool, got it, just go do it then. What you need to do.
This kind of came up during the pandemic, during lockdown when it first happened, right? Like, I would be like, why are you guys complaining so much about this? Like, this is unprecedented. This has never happened, in our lifetime before. How can you expect people just be okay and find other avenues? If this is bothering you to a level where you don't know how to pivot and change, then you've clearly never had a level of adversity in your life prior to this.
That's true. And you've backed yourself into a corner probably personally.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If you don't know how to, like, I'm so proud of so many of our students that we had here because there were so many people that were like, I'm a real estate agent and no one's buying. I'm going to pivot. What am I doing? I started a clothing line. Oh, I started baking and people buying baked goods online. We had one, Rosa. She started her spicy pickle business.
Oh, yeah?
You know what I mean? So, like, she was sending out, and then she was like, hey, guys, if you want spicy pickles, I'm delivering, so I'll just drop them off at your house. But, like, so many people pivoted, right?
Yeah.
They didn't let that thing break them.
Yeah.
And what I saw 2020 as was a global permission slip for you to give up. Everybody was okay. Like, it was okay if you gave up. It's okay to not be okay.
There's people who are still there, by the way.
I know. And we're 2 years later.
I have friends who are still there.
Bro, I ran into a good friend of mine that used to train here, and he's, wearing gloves and he's double masked up. And, he let me shake his hand and hug him, which was crazy. I thought he was going to give me like the old, oh, hey.
Or the elbows.
Oh, hey. Like, nah, fuck you, hug me. You know what I mean? Because
he still got it inside him. I think that's
well,
what
here's the other thing is like, fuck you, hug me, because you might die. If you're this scared of it that you might die, you might. Give me a hug, right? Give me a hug. And it was like, so the thing that I said was like, if you guys let this thing crush you like it was supposed to do, then you obviously didn't have adversity prior in life where you had to overcome some sort of major life-altering thing. You know what I mean? For me, it was a lifelong thing of living with a single mother after my dad passed away when I was 4. And obviously there's tons of people that have had different things of life, but we all have one sort of trauma that we can look back to and be like, did that shape me and did it conquer me or did I conquer that? And there was like, there's at least 3 in my life where I could think of like, it may have taken me years, but I definitely conquered it. And it made me prepared for 2020. I understand that's hard for like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds to process because, yeah, they haven't experienced much, right? Like, it's different when you're 36, right? There's a lot more opportunity for sad shit to happen to you.
It's also, okay, so it's also the privilege thing, which I haven't fully wrapped my mind around yet, because you can look at my life and say, that's really privileged. I had a lot going for me, man. I had parents who had jobs and were always around. I had a great family. There's a lot I had going for me. So what that means is I needed my parents to manufacture adversity for me. They luckily knew how to do that. So they made sure that I didn't grow up to be a complete pussy.
But did your parents come from a way that taught them work ethic? Exactly.
Yes.
So they knew what struggle was, right?
My mom had a single parent, and my dad was the youngest of 3 brothers, and that was tough for him, I think. And
so replication of artificial pain and struggling is what we do in here in jiu-jitsu, right?
But I think yes, but this goes right with what you were saying before.
It's a replication of struggle and strife and boundaries that you have to overcome.
Simulation.
It's a simulation. So if you're a parent, right, and you're like, fuck, dude, we're rich. Like, Tyler's going to grow up with a fucking silver spoon in his ass. You know what I mean? Like, how do we give him some sort of work ethic that he knows he has to earn what he's going on? Let's create levels of adversity for him.
Right.
And to me, that's good parenting.
That's almost more privilege. The fact that they didn't just make,
To now,
my life
people
so
are like, that's
easy.
abuse.
Yeah.
That's a level of abuse.
Yeah, strange, right?
The fuck?
Strange. But I think that this actually goes back to that point where you're like, I have that. I had to get that from philosophy. I had to learn those things from really great thinkers who pointed that out to me. And luckily I found that stuff because I sought it out, because I think my parents instilled that in me. And then I learned from those really, really good thinkers, like, oh, this is how you actually make yourself into a good person and have a good life. And so I think that philosophy is needed for some people. And I don't think we all come from your background. I don't think we all have that competitor from a young age in us. Like,
I don't want everybody to be like, well, he's just measuring everybody to a metric that suits him. And it's like that's not true, right? Because like whatever walk of life you come from, you can always shoot yourself in the foot, right? Sometimes you're going to unintentionally shoot yourself in the foot. And usually that's a lot of high-level privileged people with way too much money that have everything and they have to create some level of excitement for themselves. John fucking Jones, right?
Yeah.
He's got everything that he wants and he continuously shoots himself in the foot, right? Is it unintentionally or intentional? Who knows? Yeah. Obviously, the choices he makes are intentional. But then you have people who are like, you know what? I intentionally have to handicap myself so that I can get past this next level of life. I intentionally have to, put brakes on myself that are going to make me work a little bit harder than the other person so that I can do this down the road, however you can think about that, right?
Yeah.
I always say it in a joking manner, like I have to shoot myself in the foot to give everybody else a chance or else I would just rule the world, right? But it's a simulated wall that we have to overcome. That way, when the real wall comes, we're already mentally prepared for it. We've already practiced for it 1,000 times. And now this is just the live drill.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I
hear what you're saying. I think you're right. I think the way I've always done it is by being bad at shit and like taking on new stuff. If I ever feel like I'm good at stuff, it's time for me to get like a new hobby in the mix because I need to suck at stuff. I need to go get into hunting and be terrible at it, and I need to get into jiu-jitsu and be terrible at it. And yeah, it is.
I hired a boxing coach, this year, and going back to just pure traditional boxing, which I've never just taken a pure traditional boxing class, was frustrating. The movement, the techniques. I was like, oh man, I'm a professional fighter with 20-some fights, and I'm struggling with this technique. You know what I mean? I didn't get in my car and go, fuck this, I'm not coming back tomorrow. It's like, I gotta get good at this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I gotta get to a proficient level of boxing that I'm like, yeah, I could box.
Yeah. Well, that's what we admire. I think, hopefully, culturally, like that's what we still admire is being willing to find your weaknesses and purge them, get rid of them, go fix it, even though it sucks. I hope that remains something that we value, but I'm not sure that it is.
It's hard to say, right? It's like, because there's virtue in being weak and meek and
exactly. I think it's make changes to the world so that I'm more comfortable because of this personal weakness. People
understanding what triggers me rather than me just dealing with my triggers and making peace with that, and actually dealing with my problems. Not just making sure that I have a problem and you have to tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that we all definitely like that pisses me off. And then you're like, well, for what reason? Like, have I dealt with that part of me yet? Like, so I tell everybody with jiu-jitsu, I don't know if I said this on the last episode, when you figure it out in here, out there gets a lot easier, right? Because you deal with so many personality archetypes on the mat, right? As well as physical archetypes. Tall, lanky, short, squat, wide. You have to have different techniques and tools for each one of those. You can't darce, everybody that's built like a bulldog. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you go to a different choke. You go to a different technique. You cannot approach everybody in your workspace with a darce. Everybody's going to have a different technique. There's going to be people you need to armbar. There's going to be people you need a leg lock. There's going to be people you need to choke. Don't do any of that at work, but I'm just metaphorically saying.
Yeah.
Everything, there's a tool for the job.
Yeah.
Right? So when you start figuring out like, okay, I know how to deal, like if you can associate, okay, when I roll with Tyler Hicks and I run into this problem with him on the mats right here, I got to figure that out. Like, you know what? When I'm dealing with Jerry in the office and like he's just kind of a dickhead, it's probably coming from I just think he's a dickhead, but it's coming from an unfounded spot, right? So like once I figure out how to get you in here and I just start employing my technique on you here, then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try something with that guy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you crack his shell, that harder exterior kind of goes away, and you're like, fuck, finally. Now it's getting easier, right? Because when you're a white belt, you exert all kinds of energy because you don't know what you're supposed to be doing or how to get to where you want to go, right? When you're dealing with dickheads in the workplace and you're just kind of butting heads with them, it's because you don't know how to use the techniques that are going to make it easy for you to get past them and deal with them on a daily basis.
I think everything we're saying is true, and weirdly, I think the exact opposite can be true too.
Okay.
Because what we're talking about is becoming well-rounded at all these things and bolstering up your weaknesses and finding them and attacking them and making them better. True. On the other hand, I think a lot of people should really just do the thing that they're good at and become excessively good at it. Like,
yes.
I don't think everybody should write. I love writing and reading. I do it all the time. And when I read something from someone who just can't write, I'm like, stop fucking writing.
Yeah.
Go talk. If you can talk, talk. But like, it's fine to in your personal life too to work on those things. And I think that maybe is the difference. Like in your personal life, do all those things, but as like an entrepreneur or a content creator,
dude,
don't fucking do that thing that you're terrible at. Hire someone who is literate and have them write your shit for you. Do you know what I mean?
How are they going to get better?
Well, no, you got to.
Maybe you just don't try to get better.
I think who's Gary Vee is big into that, right? He's the whole like do what you're really good at guy. He's the embrace your strengths.
Yeah.
I suck at this, but I'm good at this. And you hire people who are better at the other stuff, you know?
I do agree with that because it's like being a jack of all trades and a master of none only gets you so far.
It's true.
Right? And then being exceptionally good at one thing can make you a billionaire. Right? So how can I hone that thing and monetize it and make it, work for me in a way, right? People that are artistic paint now, and I have, girlfriends that I see that I went to high school with, selling paintings for $5,000. These sell for $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8,000. And it's like, if he sells one of those, he already made what I would fight one fight in the UFC. You know what I mean? And it's like when you start weighing shit out, like how many hours did I put in training for a UFC fight? How many hours went into like putting all those little details in on the canvas? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Maybe close to equivalent, maybe not. But
they should. What I'm saying is they shouldn't quit their job and start fighting, and you shouldn't quit your job and start painting.
Right, for sure.
That'd be a bad move.
For sure.
And it's not embracing who you are. It's not saying this is what I'm at. But I also think the one thing that has really stuck with me is this idea that like you're probably not going to be in the top 1% of like the thing you do. Like you're not going to be Michael Jordan. There's a good shot at that.
Yeah.
But you can pretty easily be in the top 25% of like 2 or 3 different things.
For sure.
And then how do those things mix together? And so that's all that we do now is like, okay, well, I'm not going to be the best jiu-jitsu competitor in the world. I'm not going to be the best hunter in the world. I'm not going to be the best podcaster in the world. But do I have a podcast where I talk about all those things and they all kind of clash together? That's weird.
Unique.
That's a mix. That's me. So I think finding that mix is what we all are really supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean,
it's why I make fun of people who, and everybody has told me don't make fun of people like this. Fuck it. I think it's funny. People who put 10th Planet in their handle on Instagram or put jiu-jitsu in their handle on Instagram.
In the handle or in the bio?
In the handle.
Okay.
In the handle, because their whole identity.
A Birchak MMA 10P.
That's not your handle, though.
No, but what I'm saying, like, if I would do that, right?
You're different. You're a moonhead. It's different. It's your job. I get it.
So like a blue belt.
A white belt.
White belt that's like.
A blue belt.
Tyler Hicks, 10P.
And then, listen, if you just use Instagram for jiu-jitsu, I'm not talking about you, because some people just have Instagram to connect with their jiu-jitsu friends. Fine. But I think people limit themselves to one identity. And I think that's...
Well, does that fall into the, like, toxic tribalism?
Maybe. You
know, like, that's your identity now, right? You only do jiu-jitsu with these jiu-jitsu people.
Right.
And these are the only people that you're trying or interested in connecting with.
Right. And when I talked to Jeremy Horton at 10th Planet Kansas City, he was like, oh, you probably shouldn't say that about putting jiu-jitsu in your handle. And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just a representation to me of picking one identity.
It's kind of the same thing that I did is A Birchak MMA. Like, that's my identity, right?
Yeah, but you're
I'm
an
an MMA fan.
Fucking MMA.
Yeah, but you don't see, bro. Like, you don't see Michael Jordan NBA. You don't see,
It's true. You
and
don't he's done a lot of different things now.
Jay-Z rap.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Don't limit yourself.
Right.
Maybe. Or maybe be the best and like be Michael Jordan and still do whatever the fuck else.
And he's still doing everything. Do you know he has a motocross, like a MotoGP team. He ran a MotoGP. Yeah, dude, he has his hands in everything. But that's how you make millionaires, right? You diversify yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think you're.
And like you said, you don't need to be the best at being a motocross rider, but you can buy a motocross team and hire a bunch of drivers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what my point is.
Obviously, that's a scaled up version of what we're talking about.
My point is identity should just be like whatever you're into and make it a blend of all the shit you're into. And I don't like the idea that people back themselves personally into a corner of saying like, this is what I do, because it can shatter you.
It's a crutch.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that because I've only done jiu-jitsu before. Or when you back yourself into that and you do have just this one identity, you limit yourself from instead of being, Tyler the podcast guy or Tyler the hunter or, Tyler the jiu-jitsu guy, you limit yourself from being Tyler Hickson opens up a coffee store and is a barista and or has a restaurant and is a restaurateur.
And it may make you scared if you're like, man, I'm really into coffee lately. I think I could open a coffee shop, but everybody knows me as a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah. Okay. Combine them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there was a place that was just coffee and jiu-jitsu and they did that right, I could see it.
Dude, if you can, I'm going to message Carlos Condit because he has his 100 Hands Coffee in Albuquerque. And it's in a gym. It's at the front of a gym, I believe. So, like, he has his coffee shop and then the gym.
That's great.
But if you, like, you could, you know what I mean? Like, that's a guy that's, former UFC champion who, he's still got his hand in the gym life, but then he's doing the coffee thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's kind of diversifying himself in a way.
But
still keeping true to his identity while having, maybe a hobby on the side.
Right.
Like, I get that. I feel that I've embraced Anthony the fighter identity wholly. And I've definitely limited myself from being Anthony the promoter, Anthony the manager, the restaurateur,
but
anything else.
They're all phases. Those are phases, and you can shift and do those later too. You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you feel like you're limited in what you do? Like, do you feel like you couldn't make that leap to the next thing? And how much have you connected?
I guess it doesn't. Oh,
but
man.
you
to
also
me,
were
it's
trying to be like you are trying to be that 1% too.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
to
been
me,
the
it's
career.
like okay, he's obviously he's obviously a washed up fighter now, and he's looking for another avenue to make money.
That's what you think people will say.
That's what I would say. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's because people suck, and because they're stuck in one identity.
And it's like, he's washed up, so he's probably looking for a new way, rather than be like, I've had this on the back burner for so long now. You know what I mean? I wanted to do this when I first got in the UFC. I didn't really have any of the money, right? Maybe I have some of the money because I saved some stuff from fights, or maybe I was horrible with my money like I am, and I don't have fucking the money, to have these certain projects that should have been kicked off. Dude, fucking George Roop is the genius man that did it way better than all of us. And he tried, big brother me back in the day and teaching me like, hey, dude, you need to LLC yourself. You need to take your fight money and give yourself a payroll, right? And only now, 12 years later, am I like, damn, did I fuck up and not listen?
Because you want to reinvest.
And George rebranded himself from being, UFC featherweight contender to now being one of the icons in the Arizona cannabis, area. He owns the Tucson cannabis campus, and he's doing all this stuff with a bunch of different Southern Arizona medical marijuana associations and the rec thing. He was like a big part of all this. And like, obviously, maybe medicine has always been something that he enjoyed, whether it was growing it, whether it was, using it. But now it's something to a level where he's a kingpin when it comes to everything that's in Southern Arizona. And it's like, damn, more people like that. Well, I think that dude should teach a class, to be honest, like, because whatever he did with however he did it can scale up to any business in any market or anything. Yeah. Right. And I wish he would teach these young fighters how to set themselves up, because if fighting's not going to make you $1 million, you better take that 20 or 30K that you make or the 50K on a fight bonus and figure out how that 50K is going to make you a millionaire in 15 years, right? 20 years.
I think, well, he's clearly got some business acumen that's super helpful. There's got to be a ton of hypocrisy in everything we've said so far.
Tons.
We're missing a through line that I think maybe I'll get one day, but I think it's also, you spend decades trying to get it. But the point is, what I worry about when people pick a single identity is it's not necessarily the toxic tribalism. Here's what it is. It's that other people are going to get to make value-based decisions for you. Because as soon as you align yourself to one thing, you'll never evaluate the next challenge the way you want to evaluate it. You're going to evaluate it the way the people around you evaluate it. Does that make sense? So instead of being objective in any scenario, it's just going to be you become the 5 people you hang out with the most. So if you're only with 5 of the same fucking people,
I feel like this happens. I feel like it happens to actors, like Harry Potter. What's his real name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. Is he not Harry Potter in every other movie? He did like a scary movie, The Woman in the Black Veil or whatever it was. That's fucking Harry Potter in a haunted house.
Harry Pete. Just whip out your wand,
It's just Harry Potter in a haunted house with a scary lady.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily his fault because he was like 9 when they started.
No, but I mean, that happens to people as well, right?
You get pigeonholed. You get
pigeonholed and you play this role.
But people are doing it voluntarily. People are really like, this is the one place I sit in. I guess, man, if someone's happy, that's fine. But I think there's so much freedom to be had still, despite what you think is going on in this country. You have a lot of freedom to choose what you're into and what you're about and where you stand on things. And you should be able to lean on yourself and decide for each new obstacle, what do I fucking think about that? And there should be an I somewhere in there. It shouldn't be like, well, what is everybody else kind of
for sure
saying around me?
But I mean, and that goes back to what we were talking about, like walking into a place, right? And being like, okay, what does everyone think about me right now? No, I already made a decision. This is for me. I came in here to better myself. And it shows a lot of courage and a lot of willpower to do that. So whatever, just if you can walk into a jiu-jitsu gym and do that, then think of that walking into any other room in life, right? Whatever that room may be, whatever door you open, walk into that with that same courage and bravery of like, I'm probably going to get my ass kicked for a fucking while before I get good at this. Right?
Yeah. Because you always do. You
right?
always
even
get
if,
your ass kicked with something.
Even if I'm like even if I'm a wrestler and I understand how to wrestle and grapple to a certain extent, as soon as I walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, I'm a fucking duck out of water. Yes, there's mats. Yes, there's grappling being had, but I'm going to get my ass handed to me a couple times. And even though it's kind of the same realm, it's different. So if you walk into something that's kind of the same, it's different always. And you have to approach it as that and don't say like, well, I'm a restaurateur and this is a bar and they're pretty much the same, because they're not. There's things that need to be learned on each side of what can happen at the worst level, and you have to be prepared to be like, remember, this reminds me that I could absolutely get fucked up at this.
Yeah. And it's not just being prepared for that, it's also being willing to suck at things again. People get so afraid to suck at new things, so they're like, I already know what I'm doing here. No, you don't. Like, you just don't when you're doing a new thing.
I find happiness in doing that now and making Mercedes laugh, because she's like, dude, everything you do, you try your hand at, you're fucking amazing at. So like, when I see you do something horribly, it's amazing to me, and I want to film it. Like, we played Uno the other night, and I haven't played Uno in years, and I was like trying to do shit. She's like, no. She's like laughing. She's like, you're an idiot. Like, I kept never, like, she's like, I'm so happy that you suck at this.
I think the point of this whole thing is like, be bad at shit and like
be okay with it, dude.
Be okay with it. Yeah, I think so. Lean on the stuff you're good at too is okay. But don't put yourself in a corner. That's never going to turn out well.
I wish there was sort of a better lineated theme to what we were talking about, but I think it's all about the three things that you just said, right? Don't pigeonhole yourself. Keep yourself open for multiple identities. Because if people just see me as the MMA fighter, right? I'm only going to be welcome in MMA gyms. As soon as I walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, oh, that guy's probably rolls like an MMA guy, right? If I go into a wrestling academy, that guy's like a jiu-jitsu guy, and no matter how many times we take him down, he's okay with being on his back because he's going to choke us. So it's like people are going to have this idea of what you are anyways, right? And in certain audiences, you're going to be welcome, or you're going to be like, fuck. So don't pigeonhole yourself for that reason, because people give you a value, right? Or expectation, or already stereotyping exactly who, or what MMA fighters are. When I try to say that I'm an MMA fighter and people only know who like Jason Mayhem Miller is, it's like, no. We're not like that. We're not like those psychos. You know what I mean? Or Conor McGregor, right? Oh, you're like, no, I'm not like that at all. I don't act like that. I don't have that level of money. And then being okay to suck at shit.
Yeah.
I have fun, dude. Like I said, I now it makes me happy to see Mercedes happy that I suck at something.
Right. So what's next then for you?
Man.
What do you want to suck at next?
This, we were talking about it off air, but I want to suck at being a promoter. You know what I mean? That I had a fuck ton. And now, like in retrospect, why I lost is probably pretty clear, right? We just did, for the viewers and listeners, like we just did our first ever ticketed event, jiu-jitsu event. My wife owns Bullpen Submission Series. Tyler helped us out with the YouTube broadcast and stuff like that. But it was very clear to me that I should be either a competitor or a promoter on one night, but definitely not both on the same night. I was still trying to give a rules meeting in the back while I'm a competitor. I should have let, just Al and Mike talk, but they're like, well, what do you want to do? Well, this is how I want this to go, you know what I mean, as a competitor, which also looks kind of weird that I'm still the head ref for Bullpen, but I'm competing today.
Right.
But I'm still trying to make sure that my standards for what the matches look like are being adhered to. So now that I'm looking, at kind of the writing on the wall, and I want to pull myself back more from being a competitor and more of like a promoter, that show gave me so much optimism and like just pure child excitement that we could blow the fucking doors off the next show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this show went great. Like, the aesthetics of it were amazing. The matches were amazing. The athlete roster that we had that was on the card was amazing. We had myself, Adrian Nez, Issa Abel, Austin Baker, Gabriel De Los Santos, Oscar De Los Santos, and there's one other.
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy House, right? And then Cody Elmer. Those are 8 guys that have all competed at the highest level. We have 6 of us that have been on UFC Fight Pass for either Submission Underground or Combat Jiu-Jitsu or EBI. Just on that on your resume, you're worth $2,000-$3,000 coming into a show. You know what I mean? So for us to have that level of talent on our first ever show, because we've built something over 6 years now that we have a relationship with all these athletes, it shows that the talent that we've groomed coming up through bullpen is huge, and it's, it's being able to happen on a multiple of levels, not just the regional level, not just the national level, but the world level. So, just seeing that excites me of like, well, how can we make that next card that much better?
Yeah.
How can we keep the card talent stacked? And dude, some of the most exciting matches were the blue belts and the purple belts.
They were really good matches.
Rosa and Itayana was amazing. Ryan Hannon and Matt Olesen, amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll be in there next time.
The Cody Owens,
No, hell no.
Get in there. Cody Owens, who's a brown belt and was one of the favorites, right, from Texas, got upset by Andres Ponce, who's a blue belt but an MMA fighter. And then me getting upset in the first round, getting taken out by a purple belt. It's like that whole night was absolutely exciting, and just, it was not, if you placed bets, you fucked up. Like,
yeah. And you
there
can
was
still
some
go watch
crazy
it,
shit.
by the way. It's on Bullpen Submission Series YouTube channel. You can go subscribe, and you can watch the entire thing still. It's all up.
Yeah.
And you'll see what we're talking about, because it was great.
The next one we're doing, like we were just talking again off air, I have notes on everything that I want to do to make this thing, but eventually I want to get to a level where we have a elevated stage. There's a staging area to the right for one competitor, staging area to the left for the other competitor, and then a giant projection screen in the middle where you can cast the match. We have a clock on there. And dude, it's so many opportunities, like we were saying. There's so many cool ass things that we could do and to become the next big show.
Right.
And that's what I'm excited about, because I know I'm going to fuck up. I know there's going to be a day where we have technical difficulties and the stream fucks up. And
I can't believe it didn't happen this time.
Exactly.
Amazing.
I think the only thing we had was like a minor audio issue at one point.
Yeah, it was just troubleshooting with those new mics.
Yeah, and then you remedied it right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're a badass.
It was just fast.
So, and then the next thing that I want to do was manage fighters. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to go to school and get a sports management degree. That way you have a minor in contractual law and then an understanding of sports business. So I wouldn't be necessarily considered an official agent, but a manager. Obviously we have 4 pro fighters, 5 including myself here, where I could foster their growth, meaning picking fights and putting them in organizations and positions, to be successful, making sure that the fights that they are getting are, obviously favorable to us, but challenging enough that it's not obviously like we just go out there and fight tomato cans, right? Like that's an art in itself of like making sure that your fighter is fighting someone to their level and is accepting challenges upwards every once in a while to see like, okay, now you're on that level, let's take this chance.
Right.
Now we're on this level, let's take this chance, right? And a lot of managers don't build their guys like how, boxing used to. It's kind of happening something with myself is like, if I could manage myself, I would not put me up against anybody spectacular next. You know what I mean? I'm coming off of 2 losses, and one of the options that I got was a guy that was still ranked in the top 5 when he left the UFC. And it was like, does that sound like a bounce back fight that's smart for me? Yeah, it's money, but that's not what we need. We need me to bounce back and get on a win streak so we can get back into a bigger show with more money.
So having that big picture of the entire thing.
It's a big picture. Like when a major boxer loses to somebody they shouldn't have lost to, or if they lose in a title fight, they fight 6 fucking nobodies. And then they fight for a world title again next.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, there's some managers that are very, very good at that. And then there's some that are like, well, it's November and Christmas is coming up. This fight's for 10K and 10K, but the guy's, 14-2.
Yeah.
Do you want it? And like, how do you turn down like 10 grand?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But sometimes
me as a manager, like, hey, we ain't taking that fight.
Right.
I don't give a fuck how much money you need for Christmas.
Right.
You know what I mean? So managing and getting sponsors and, getting these athletes, sponsors that fit their profile and lifestyle. Like I would never get Dion a bunch of Browning or Ride On and like hunting sponsors, right? Because even though he's from Oklahoma, like he's a giant black dude with dreads, like you would never see him out in full camo, you know. So as I guess as like stereotypical as that is, like you have to fit the athlete's lifestyle to who they are.
That's
right?
the follow your strengths. That's the like play your stereotype.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, then play your stereotype.
Right.
You know what I mean? We had this dope ass urban clothing line that was sponsoring from a long ass time called Knowledge Tribe, and it was all about like you know, Black pride and Egyptian. You know, they were really about like the Egyptians weren't, you know, these caramel white people that we see in the theater. They were black people, and you know they were black kings and black queens, and that's what always Dion talks about. So like. Right. He has the Eye of Horus, I believe, tattooed, right? So, like, their main logo is that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a perfect brand fit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so we got him sponsored by them for a while, you know. And then, like, I have Andrew Slater, who's been supported by all the business that we have in-house. So, like, the Tucson Kava Bar, Papa Lock, On the Spot Locksmith. Who else did we have? We had Casa Marana Tap House. We had all the people that own businesses in here supporting him, right? So like that makes sense. And it's as a manager, you got to figure out how to piece all that. So not only the fight, but also branding and staying within an image for your fighters.
Yeah. Quick sidebar.
Yes.
Because I had it on my list and you brought it up. Kava Bar.
Yeah.
Just shout out to Whitney and Kava Bar.
Yeah, Whitney and Kev, man, they support a lot of us, bro.
We just went there. I can't believe I didn't go last year, but we just went the other day. We had a friend in town and we went over. And I didn't realize that like kava has any sort of intoxicating effect, I guess. And I started drinking it and I was like, oh, hello, this is very relaxing. It's
when
like
did you figure it out? When you took your first step off the bed, or did you like kind of figure it out while you're like wobbling?
Our friend kind of told us like, this is, oh no, it's more like alcohol or whatever. And so, yeah, the weird thing was it just made my tongue go completely numb.
Yeah.
That's
what I dig. No, that's what I dig about it.
My whole mouth was just numb. It was super weird. But
yeah,
it's different than booze. It was odd.
So it's a cousin of the pepper plant, right? And if you look at the leaves, it's a very recognizable heart-shaped leaf, and it's traditional Polynesian. A lot of the different tribes have it. So Hawaiians have it, Tongans have it, you know, Fijians, all of them. Like if you go in there, you'll order one from Vanuatu. You'll order one from Solomon. Like the Solomon's my favorite because it's like the one that's most potent and most pungent, and it gives me the most like numbing sensation.
Okay, I'll try that next time.
And it's a little bit more uplifting. The Fiji, very mellow, relaxing, like something you want to drink at the end of the night. And then the Vanuatu is like another. So there's strains, right? It's just like crazy. You strain your weed. One of those kavas is going to make you feel one way versus the other.
Yeah, man.
So
that was weird. But now my next goal is after an open mat. Like I really want to get to a place where I'm so tired and just wrecked from coming in here, and then just go have a kava
and then see you just pass out,
fall asleep. I guess. Yeah. I mean, it was wildly relaxing. But I put it on here because I know that they've been doing stuff.
Yeah, man. They've been helping us out big time. They sponsor a lot of the up and coming fighters. They sponsor myself. They've just been at 2 music festivals here in Tucson. So Wookin' Jam was last weekend, and then Gem and Jam, which is a big EDM festival. There's 4 stages out at the Pima County Fairgrounds. They have a booth there.
They're gonna do well with that.
So if you guys check them out, go check out the Tucson Kava Bar booth at the
it was
Gem
great,
and Jam.
Man. And I'm running out of time, but that reminded me because it's a rare time that I had a plant in my system because Andrew and I have gone mostly carnivore.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm seeing you posting more carnivore stuff. Are you like getting into that side of things?
I'm just a big meat eater in general.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat.
I don't know if Kyle had maybe.
No, they've tried. Kyle and Whitney both have tried to be like, dude, you should do all carnivore. And I'm like,
all carnivore is a lot, but
like my first 3 days of trying to take a shit is just gonna be like.
But you're like a foodie too.
Yeah,
so I feel
I'm
like
big.
It's hard
like
for you.
And I guess does fish fall within the carnivore diet? Like it's all just animal bodies, right? Yeah. So growing up, I guess when I look at what my family would eat, just as traditional Mexican cuisine and the things that we'd make, I guess it's as you could call it paleo, because it was beans, rice, meat, veggies.
Yeah.
Right.
All real food, basically.
And that was like The only thing, and I don't eat them, the only thing that was different was the tortilla, right? That was processed. But, sorry, excuse me. Everything else is hunter-gatherer based things. So like switching to an all carnivore diet would be kind of, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it kind of seems like taxing. Like,
yeah, I'm not into it. Like we kept dairy and we kept fruit, and then I still make my sourdough, and I do sourdough everything. So I'll do sourdough tortillas and cookies and whatever, and then rice. But beyond that, it's just meat, and it's mostly like we cut out like the spices. I cut out like the onions and the garlic and all that extra stuff, and like olive oil and stuff. I traded it all for like animal fat and stuff. So, but it's
tallow
been good.
and
Yeah, exactly. I like it so far, and I don't get sunburn anymore. As a super white guy, formerly, I got really tan.
So that's one of the benefits of.
That's what they say. If you cut out linoleic acid, that you don't get sunburn anymore, which is in vegetable oil. So, weird, right?
Interesting.
I know.
No, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, like, because I could literally switch between steak, chicken, seafood. You know what I mean? And that's pretty easy. That's pretty much how I eat right now. Mm-hmm. I've been on a big chicken kick lately.
Really?
And like every night she's like, what do you want for dinner? I'm like, chicken thighs. And she's like, okay, like, how do you want them? Like, I don't know, sesame seed oil, sriracha, and just grill it. And then the next night, well, what do you want? Fried chicken?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, and then it's like, now I just realize I eat chicken 5 nights a week. And I'm like, damn, I need to have a steak. I need to have, fish. I need to have something. Normally when I eat fish, I would say I eat uncooked fish more than I eat cooked fish.
Because you're a sushi fan.
Big sushi fan, big mariscos fan. So like Mexican sushi.
Oh yeah, I've seen that place.
There's a place in Tucson. Before you guys go, I highly recommend. It's called El Beraco, and it's shaped like, on the outside it looks like a giant submarine. On the inside it looks like the inside of a submarine. They have some of the best cooked and uncooked seafood that you can get. They have this full octopus that's served in this garlic butter sauce on a bed of rice. They have this sea aguachile, which is an appetizer. It's shrimp on the outside, octopus, scallops, and then it just repeats itself to the outside again.
That sounds wild, dude.
And it's served with like this soy sauce, lime juice, serrano peppers, and cilantro, and it's amazing. Highly recommend them. So when I go and eat seafood, like it's like that, or I eat traditional sushi.
Yeah. We like lox too.
Sashimi style. Oh, like lox and bagels.
Yeah. Well, not even with bagels. Like throw it on some rice at home, and you're kind of like, I can pretend this is sushi for a meal. Like,
yeah,
it's not so bad.
When we lived at our old house, I used to make pokies a lot. Like I would go to Costco and just buy big hunks of tuna, and then I started buying like big hunks of salmon and trying to do like with a couple different fish, and like salmon and tuna, the ones that kind of stay together the best, because like any of the other fishes are too flaky and it kind of falls apart.
Right.
But
the big one in carnivores to eat sardines, which terrifies me. Like straight out of the can, bones and all. You don't do that?
No.
Yeah.
I can't do sardines.
I've never tried
I'm like
that.
the only Italian that can do like sardines, and what's the other one? Anchovies.
Yeah.
Can't fucking do that.
Yeah, I don't think I could get into it.
So like I'll eat, the only steaks that I eat are ribeyes, good high fat content, most flavor. Every once in a while I'll find a fillet. Like when I'm cutting weight, I'll find something super lean fillet. And then like I said, just chicken thighs out the yin yang.
Yeah. I got Heather and Kyle into sourdough last year, but I'm not sure if they're still doing it.
I dig sourdough.
To keep it up. It's not just it takes a lot of time.
Cooking it or just eating?
Cooking it.
Yeah, I don't have time.
Yeah, no.
There's my excuse. I don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allot 2 hours of me to fucking figure out how to do sourdough bread.
It's kind of a lot. But once you get good at it, it's fast. It takes me like 10 minutes a day now, and then we have bread like every single day.
Yeah.
Some type of bread. The last one on my list is just a personal one. Maybe I should say this for off air, because it's kind of dumb.
No.
Oh, it's so dumb.
No. It's not
I'm
dumb.
do it off air. I think it's a funny thing, and I hope it continues, because I tried to follow Eddie Bravo on Instagram. I'm not allowed to follow him.
Oh, so
what's the rule?
There is
Who
no
gets
rule.
in?
Do you not know that we're just all shadow banned? Go try to find me.
No. I requested to follow his.
So
So you think
if
it's
you try,
all
yeah,
stuck.
it's IG blocking him to an ultimate level.
Fuck.
I can't message him. I can't tag him. And I follow him. I can't message him. I can't tag him, and I can't at him. Okay, so he's to a level. If you see, like, I'm allowed to see his IG story and what he posts, right? But if I go to comment on one of his posts, it says you cannot comment on Eddie Bravo's post. He's it says like habitual misinformation poster.
Whoa.
Right?
Where are we fucking going then, bro? Like,
So
what's next?
if you go to look for my name, it's A Birchak MMA, right? A Birchak MMA. I won't populate until you hit that last M or even the A.
I noticed that too.
And then when you click follow, it says, "Are you sure you want to follow A Birchak?" He's posted misinformation multiple times.
Okay, so that's all scary.
By fact checkers and something else.
Yeah, that's all scary as shit. But my question is, where are we going? What's the move? I need somebody to tell me what the move is.
Yeah.
No, Andrea doesn't like that?
No, this whole thing is terrifying.
Oh, she's afraid of this whole thing. And I am too. It's all messed up. So where are we going? Because no one's given me any sort of secondary thing that is even close.
Yeah. So now that the whole hubbub is about Joe, right? He's gonna start having issues where it says, "Are you like?" I wouldn't be surprised, like, if when Spotify comes up, like, "Are you sure you want to listen to Joe Rogan?" You know what I mean? Like,
Well, he's gonna
they
have
just
disclaimers on the
they
start.
just literally said, like, the White House announced that we could be doing more to. It says something, we could be doing more to make sure that the content coming out of the Joe Rogan podcast is approved. Which is, this is all censorship. It's a level of censorship. It's a level of, like, I posted a meme the other day that was like, no one ever forced me to listen to Joe Rogan, but Apple forced millions to listen to the U2 album that no one
That's
fucking wanted.
funny.
Like,
Dude, I didn't know about that until a decade later. I just know it was on my phone, and I was like, that's weird. And then everybody started saying, do you remember when we were, when that just popped up on your phone? And I was like,
dude, still
that happened to everybody?
To this day, like, I'll click shuffle, and I'm like, what fucking song is this?
So,
I'm like,
Songs of
God
Love
damn
or whatever it
U2,
was called.
bro.
Isn't that what it was called? I don't
damn
remember.
U2.
Yeah, no, I just need to know where we're all gonna go.
I mean,
because-
unfortunately, there's people that are okay with this. And exactly what he said in his explanation on his IG Live, where it was like, a year ago, if you would have said that cloth masks are ineffective, you'd have been deplatformed, right? And kicked off of social media. Now the White House just said that cloth masks are not effective in slowing the spread of this, right?
Careful, you're gonna get this podcast flagged.
Dude. And then I'm just regurgitating what was talked to me by Joe Rogan, right? So, like, and then the next point was like, if you would have said that if you're fully vaccinated, that you can still spread and get, COVID, you'd have been deplatformed. But now that's something that the CDC just came out with. So it's like all the things that a bunch of us conspiracy theorists were saying in 2020, 2 years ago, a year ago, right? We would have all been crucified. And like now that, and they're saying it's because that the judge ruled that they don't get 75 years to release their data. It's got to be done by the end of this year. That like, yeah, now this is that. Oh yeah, if you're they're having to kind of damage control whatever thing that they put out a while ago, right? Which is like the word now is the narrative. Mm-hmm. So like somebody that's contrary to the narrative, like Joe, who's got such a major fucking platform, right? People now pigeonhole you for like, oh, you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. Oh, you sound like you listened to an episode of Joe Rogan. What did he have people that were spreading misinformation and false information? No, he had the guy that was on that created the mRNA vaccine. Did he say things you didn't like that went against what your beliefs are? Yeah. And that's what the painful one is, right? Is like the guy that created this whole thing said that some counterpoints to what you guys were putting in the news.
The part that really pains me, because I'm always thinking about myself and how this is going to affect me, is as a young content creator, I feel that I won't have a chance. You know what I mean? If you can build something in time and
because you want to be edgy, right? You
platform-
want to be edgy and
I just wanna
someone
be
that's going to
honest.
like catch something. But bro, when your girl asks you if I look fat in this, are you going to be honest? No.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Always.
people don't want honesty. People don't want honesty.
No, but I'm saying I don't want to. I don't want
and
to.
the people
have to
that
make something
appreciate
that's-
the people that appreciate honesty are also people that are honest and come off as brash assholes with zero tact and uncouth.
It's true.
Right? Like when I give people my honest take on things, I get attacked immediately. Right? And it's like, okay, but that's real. And then like I'll get DMs like from other people like, bro, like that's 100% real. Like you didn't say anything wrong or bad. You just went against what they were saying, which is why you got attacked.
I'm going to end on a positive note here because I think it all comes full circle, which is I think there's a lot of people who do not like this, do not like anything that's going on. I think there's a lot of people who are still striving to make themselves better. I think the numbers actually reflect that more than disprove it. I think the numbers show a lot of people are seeking their own information and appreciate free speech and are coming to jiu-jitsu and trying to make themselves stronger. And that gives me hope. And having traveled all over the country for the last 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years, I guess, has shown me far more people who do not dig.
So, but you're
weakness.
seeing that people don't dig this whole thing,
But they're quiet.
right? But are there Yeah, exactly. Right?
That's-
They
that's
can't
the
be out
sad
loud
part.
about it. But are there pockets that you find like we need to get the fuck out of here? Like we don't fit in here. Like this is a mentality that I can't get on board with.
How so? What do you
Like,
mean?
Just a whole area of. I mean, I don't know how
Geographically?
Yeah,
or-
geographically. Like I've been to this city, this gym,
Yeah.
and like everyone else is like, yeah, I don't dig this, man. Like all these mandates are fucking stupid, and then like there's just these couple places that you guys have gone where it's like, no, that's doing the right thing. Like that's the right thing.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. And you know what? Yeah. No, it's a little bit like that.
You know, because if what's wild is the three biggest states on the bottom of the United States, Arizona, Texas, Florida, 3 freest wide open states, right? And then you got New Mexico in the middle of us in Texas. That's a fucking
Odd one, right?
lockdown.
I always thought that was
Why
odd.
is that not wide open, right? Same kind of mentality of people, the cowboy people, right?
You know what the weirdest thing is? The people who are sort of having the most rules put on them. This is an objective statement. I'm pretty sure that I've seen the people who have the most rules put on them are the ones that agree the most with the rules. And the places where people have way less restrictions, Arizona, Texas, Florida, are actually kind of the ones that are the most mad about the rules. So you would think it'd be the opposite, right? The more oppressed you are, the more angry
fight
you
back.
are in fighting back. I think it's been the opposite. The people who
I
have had the
think-
most freedom.
This is a whole nother podcast, but I think this whole time is all timing things of timing and targeting a specific generation that's like they'll be okay with this, right? And then the generations that have fought oppression are all too old and are dying off. Wildly enough, on CBS, because I forget what show I was watching last night, but there's I think it's Bridget Monahan that's doing, or another actress that's doing like a reminder of the Holocaust and concentration camps. And there's like guys, they're like old men, right, that are Holocaust survivors. Like it happened because I was there, and I'm here to remind people so it doesn't happen again. Like why all of a sudden are we talking about reminding people of the Holocaust, and like are they not teaching kids about this anymore? Are they not teaching what happens when oppression and tyranny goes way, way too far? Like, why are you having to remind us that the Holocaust, like, I know what happened. Like, yeah, it sucked. You know what I mean? But is there really a generation that doesn't know this thing happened? Or is uneducated about it because we stopped educating them about it? That shit's wild to me.
Yeah.
So I think it's just time now where people are like, hey, you Gen Zers or whatever you young people are that are okay with these rules and these mandates being imposed, this is how it starts. Mm-hmm. And either you grow a spine and fucking start fighting back now, or, you know,
We'll
the
see.
worst thing happens.
Well,
I don't know if
damn
that's a positive fucking note.
No, it's a sad note, man. I mean, it all makes me sad because I don't buy that this is what people want. I don't buy that this is the best we can do. And I don't know. And I also I do have that personal. I am looking out for myself and recognizing fuck, man. There's no chance I have to grow this show.
But don't think like that, because it's true, man. Because there's guys like me. There's girls like her.
I know, but
and there's
if
people like that all over the place. That if those are the only people you need to talk to, then those are the voices that need to be heard. Like where Joe wants to go. You know what? You're right. I should get a counter opinion to how that person thinks. That way it pleases everybody. Fuck that. I want to hear the voices that stand against everybody. I want to hear all those voices. I want to get one idea, because it's like, at that point, there's already too many people that go with the flow.
Yeah.
There's so many people that go with the flow.
Yeah.
I want to hear those counter thoughts, because if we constantly just hear what we want to hear, right, we're in an echo chamber. And then we're always in euphoria and bliss because we're hearing what we want to hear, right? Hearing things that are uncomfortable, hearing truth, hearing the things that you don't like that count, like it pisses me off, but it also gives me a perspective. So I think if you're going to grow this show, bro, it's going to be growing it with the voices of the people that you want to talk to.
It's going to have to be.
Right
I
now,
think that's why I started it.
Eventually, it's going to, and then eventually you're going to have those counterpoints in, right? Because at first, I guess I'm going to contradict myself, right? So at first, it's going to be an echo chamber, and then you have to introduce the counter arguments to make it a healthy argument.
Yeah. But I never set out to make a political show. I don't want to be a political person even. I like
this can all be non-political and like, but it's weird now that it like everyone's like, oh, I don't want to be political, but it's like, it's like, okay, so we're talking about counter ideas.
My point is that I'm not saying that in terms of I like to run away from political or that I want to please everybody or anything like that. I just think, again, it's just like the identity thing. We all push for everybody to be political now. So like, what's the person underneath all that stupid bullshit? Because it's all made up. Like, it's all fake.
Yeah.
No one gives a fuck about you. The senator celebrity doesn't give a fuck about you, whether they're on one side or the other.
But it's crazy, right? It's like, you and me like to hunt, so we'd be considered Trumpers. You know what I mean? Trumpers, hunters. Okay, and then maybe she has short blue hair and she's considered a Biden person just because of that.
Strange, isn't it?
It's so weird. Like, what if I just want to have short blue hair and I hunt?
Yeah.
I can't do both.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's wild, and it makes me sad that everyone's split to that level of divisiveness. That every conversation we have to have is political when it has nothing to do with politics. It's just. Do you feel this right? This is right. Do you feel like you're free? Do you feel like you did 10 years ago?
It's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Was the point I was making, which is the ability to evaluate, because you don't have one locked-in identity. You look at any one thing and you say, that's what I deem this to be, good or bad. And if you're not influenced by everybody around you in that tight little pigeonhole that you're in, you can actually like look at a new thing and be like, here's what I think about this. And you should have your own opinion about that. Anybody who doesn't want you to have your own opinion about that, that's a problem.
I think the
should be able to make your own
thing that makes me happy, or at least not happy, but hopeful, is like people that were like super staunch at the very beginning are now coming around and being like, damn, dude, we were duped. You know what I mean? And that makes that like,
I understand what you mean too. Like,
I have a cousin named Gina who, she has 5 sons, and I was like, hey, she's like, no, we're avoiding this at all costs. Like, I go, well, and she would like hit me up with text messages like, hey, we're having a drive-by birthday party for, Estevan. You guys can drive by our cul-de-sac and wave at him. I'm like, Gina, you live on the opposite side of town. If I'm driving over to your fucking house, I'm walking into your living room and eating chips and salsa. I'm not driving over there to wave at my nephew. Right. Anyways, they all get sick. All of them catch it anyways, right? And they're all fine. And I'm like, did all of those things that you went through even work at that point? Like, because that's evidence.
And the facts change too. People. The question is, how long were you willing to do it for? And now we are 2+ years.
But like I said, let's say this is all as real as you think it is, and I drive over there and I wave at my nephew and I never got to give him a hug again. You know what I mean? Because I died.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would have rather have that one last hug than it's weird. It's weird. But now that she's like that, she's a little bit more open, and I think she's like, okay, it wasn't as bad. She didn't really know what to expect, right? No one really knew what to expect. And then you're seeing this hit multiple people in different ways. And it's like, to me, it's still, I only have what my experiences are. And it hit me for 2 days each time. Whether I got the Delta variant or whatever, I've had it twice now. Got it at the very beginning in 2020 in July. And then I had it again this last year. And it was for 2 days only. Mm. And like, that's my experience with it.
Yeah.
So,
and now we've had it, we think.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to grow the show, dude, you have a cool thing. You know, even today was kind of wild. You always have awesome questions that I love answering. You have awesome stories that you lead me into that I have
Thank
fun
you.
talking about. And I think that's what people enjoy, is just chatting shit and not, you know, not being so led in a direction of what we're going to talk about. We talked about so many different things today. Started with jiu-jitsu, ending with, you know, politics and sickness. But
Yeah. Well, it's going to even more. I mean, even this is sort of formal for the podcast, which is fine. Like, but like listeners will appreciate that. I think the next episode I'm doing is with Chris Bennett
okay.
and Kyle Rothline, and we're going to be smoking a duck at Chris's
Yeah.
house, I guess. I don't know anything.
He's got a
to
fat
expect.
house, bro.
I guarantee those two will be stoned to the bones. I guarantee I'll have a cigar and a beer because I don't get stoned to the bones, and it's going to be a totally different thing. And I like that everything can be a different thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I want to do. I'm having Master Al on. Now I'm just giving away all the future episodes. Master Al's going to come on, which is really cool. He's got so much to talk about.
Bro, I heard one of the podcasts he did with the Ride On podcast.
Yeah, he
and I
showed
learned
me
like
that.
6 things that I never knew about him.
I know. I need to listen to that one.
And I was like,
before
holy
he
shit.
comes on.
Yeah, it was like 15, 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I learned so much about Al in
Yeah.
that 15, 20 minutes. I was
Yeah.
just like, fuck, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good interview.
It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So, and I have another hunting guest coming on via Zoom because he's in California, and so lots more coming for the folks who are listening. Hopefully you stick with me. You know,
Hell yeah.
We'll see if I have a place to post these podcasts at some point. Although podcasting is like not that threatened as a thing because it's pretty spread out. Like it's hard to control
It's pirate radio, bro.
RSS feed. Exactly.
Still pirate radio.
I fucking love that movie too, by the way. All right. Anything else before we go? Well, you already said where people can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, listen, if you're going to try to find me on Instagram, you have to type my whole name out. ABIRCHAKMMA. And I won't show up until you hit either that last M or the A. But on Facebook, Anthony Birchak is my athlete page. And then Twitter is ABirchakMMA, same thing. And then
Tucson.
Yeah, 10P Tucson. If you guys are ever in Tucson, I have open doors for everybody. We're always accepting new members. We're always accepting guests. We're always accepting walk-ins. Like we're wide open here. We want to share, you know, jiu-jitsu with everybody. And for whatever it is, if you want to be the world's next greatest competitor, if you want to just get fit, if you want to understand how to defend yourself and your loved ones, we do it all. So
Come by. I can vouch
come
for
by,
that.
guys. We're literally 3 miles away from the University of Arizona, right here in the Central City. So again, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, and Bullpen Submission Series, you can still go see the event we just did on YouTube. As always, I'm at T. Hickson Life, at Wild Hicksons. Andrea just released the On the Hunt, the first documentary of our bow hunt in Wisconsin. So go make sure you don't miss that because it's a great doc that she put together. I have a feeling there's some jiu-jitsu documentaries.
That's
in
what
the
I'm
works.
excited
I don't.
about.
I can't speak.
That's
to
what I'm
anything
excited
specific.
about. I
have
can't
a
wait to
feeling.
see that one.
Yeah, there might be something coming. Who knows? Who knows? You know, we don't make a lot of documentaries, so who knows? And thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe. As always, we will see you on the next episode.